Coker. She's recuperating from surgery. So Harriet, if you are watching us, we're asking for speedy recovery and make sure that you follow the doctor's orders. And also, Mr. John Hires is not with us this evening. His mother-in-law has passed away, and that's his wife Susan's mom. So our condolences to their family. Item number 2 on the agenda is approval of the agenda. And board members, you've had an opportunity to receive and review the agenda prior to tonight's meeting. What is the pleasure of the board with regards to approval of the agenda?
Madam Chairman, I wish to make a motion that we approve the agenda as presented.
All right.
Second.
We have a motion on the floor and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, if you're in favor of approval of the agenda, please signal by saying aye. Aye. Any opposition? Hearing none, the ayes have it and the motion carries. We are down to item number 3 on the agenda, which is approval of the minutes for November 15th, 2022, committee meeting, January 9th, 2023, as well as January the 11th of 2023. And each of the board members have had an opportunity to receive and review these minutes prior to tonight's meeting. What is the pleasure of the board with regards to approval of these minutes?
Madam Chair,
Yes.
at this time I make a motion that we approve the minutes of November 15th committee meeting, January 9th, and January 11th, 2023. Second.
All right, we have a motion on the floor that we approve the minutes for the November 15th, 2022, January 9th of 2023, and January 11th of 2023. Motion on the floor and a second. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, if you're in favor of this, please signal by saying aye. Aye. Hearing no opposition, the ayes have it and the motion carries. We are now down to item number 4 on the agenda, which is the school report. And first up, we have Rhonda Ray with Denmark Olar Elementary School. Dr. Ray?
Good evening.
Good evening.
The current enrollment at Denmark Elementary is 270 students. The incident report is by the different incidents, and we do see it is decreased for the month of January. So we'll see how it goes for this month. The next item, the South Carolina Early Childhood Association Conference. I attended along with our pre-K teacher and pre-K assistant. It was a wonderful conference, so we appreciate the district approving for us to attend. There were over 1,800 people in attendance. There were people from public schools, Head Start programs, people who own daycare centers. The different presenters and guest speakers talked about not only academics, helping young children with reading and math, but they also had a heavy focus this year on social emotional learning, which we know is important for all ages. We appreciate Mrs. Bonaparte attending the Awards Day program that we had for the second 9 weeks recognition on Thursday, February 2nd. The school climate trophies, what we're trying to do is really encourage our students to focus on making good choices. So one thing that we do is we have a trophy for the pre-K through 2nd grade hallway, another trophy for 3rd through 5th grade. And every week that the classes do not receive, or the students in the class do not receive a referral, including bus referrals, their name goes into a drawing. And at the end of the month, we do a drawing for each hallway, and the trophy is then displayed in the classroom, and the students get a pizza party. So we appreciate, again, the district providing the pizza party. Students are constantly saying thank you when their classes have won. And then this past, at the end of January, some of the 4th grade students said, we're so grateful for this, pizza party. And I tell them that I'm grateful for their good behavior. With the Dreambox Learning Trophy, the Dreambox is something that is at no cost to the district from the State Department. And the representative for our area did deliver a trophy for us. So what we do is there's a goal that they really stress with having at least 5 lessons or more per week. So again, classes that average 5 lessons or more their name goes into a drawing. At the end of the month, it's announced, and then we present the trophy and make the announcement over the intercom. So the students are really increasing their usage, and so the research from the Dreambox does show that as much as they use it, especially 5 times a week, it could possibly show 1.5 years of growth. But that's, of course, over the entire school year. Our Black History Month, we have various activities this month. We have trivia. We have a student who does the morning announcement, who reads a trivia question. Again, at the end of the month, the classes that have the correct answers will have a drawing to see which class is the end of the month winner. And the theme for our Black History program is Voices of Freedom. I do have one correction, if you don't mind, if you would, at the bottom where it has calendar of events. Instead of February the 24th, the Black History program has been changed to February the 27th. The time is still 1 o'clock. The reason we changed it, there's a field trip on the 24th. We want to make sure that all of our students are in the building and able to attend. So again, that's on February the 27th. The Valentine's Day dance, we got input from our teachers and staff. We wanted to provide something for our students during the school day for them just to have some fun. And we have pre-K through 2nd grade. They will have just activity in the gym with the teachers supervising from 12:45 to 1:30 on Valentine's Day. And then from 1:45 to 2:30, 3rd grade through 5th grade will go in the gym. Again, supervised with their teacher. Early release day on the 28th, we have some great sessions. One session is with Adjourn, Exact Path, which will be a virtual session, and then Dreambox training, which will have an in-person session on that day. Any questions?
Any questions?
Not really. I'm just curious a little bit about this. The in-state counts, this number to the right of the box. 340 bus violations?
Those are power
Oh,
school
that's the
codes.
Okay.
Power school
Don't have
codes.
to run. Not in school.
And so same thing with the one across from Jonathan Bay?
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right, thank you.
You're welcome. Any other questions? Thank you.
Okay, next up we have Patricia Goldsmith with Denmark Oler Middle School.
I would like to say, Ms. Goldsmith is out sick tonight, so
Okay.
in,
Everybody good to do? Present.
By all means.
Ms. Goldsmith is out sick, so she has asked that I do this for her, so here I am. This is the principal report for Denmark Oler Middle School. As of February 6, 2023, there are 149 students enrolled. She has her discipline report below that. As of February 6th, there were 0 confirmed COVID cases at Denmark Oler Middle School at this time. The virtual classes have begun at Denmark Oler Middle School for 6th grade math, 6th grade science, 7th grade social studies. We were still waiting on an 8th grade social South Carolina history teacher to begin. They've started with job shadowing for students. They've started their IGP meetings. They will start for all 8th grade parents and students to discuss their 9th grade track. They had report card and parent conferences held on Thursday, January the 26th after school. The recognition of Black History Month students are researching notable African Americans who were born in South Carolina and their contributions to the state and to the world. They are playing the Black History trivia content at the end of the contest, at the end of the month. They had a parent night on January the 17th. They will have a, William J. McCord will be sending a counselor on February the 15th to discuss and present a drug presentation. Interim reports will go on February 16th. There are meetings planned with 7th grade parents for Thursday, February the 9th. that would have been this afternoon. Their honors and awards program were held on Wednesday, February 1st. She did talk about there was a gain in students from the first 9 weeks. Positive office referrals are put into place to deter inappropriate behaviors of students. Instead of discipline referrals, we are working to accentuate the positive. A spring fling dance is being planned for May as a culminating school activity for effort and hard work to reward those kids who are behaving.
All right. Thank you very much. Next up, we have Dr. Deanne Simmons with Denmark-Ola High School. Dr. Simmons?
Good evening, all.
Good evening.
Thank you so much for the opportunity to come once again before you and share a few of the great things going on at Denmark-Ola High School. As you can see from your report, our current enrollment remains pretty steady at 188. The dual enrollment, we have 23 students who are taking dual enrollment classes at Denmark Technical College in the morning. We have 30 students who go in the afternoon, a total of 53 students, and that's encouraging because that's a significant percentage of our entire student body. So we're really pleased with the number of students that are currently enrolled at Denmark Tech, and obviously our effort is to continue to try to increase the number of students who enrolled in dual enrollment courses at Denmark Technical College. You have your January discipline incidents there. I think this number may be up just a few from December, but when I look at the types of incidents, it's not a major concern because it's nothing major. You know, from time to time, kids are tardy. That happens from time to time. Kids think that they're not watching and they try to skip class and we catch them. So those aren't major, but that's the increase, where the increase comes from. So we're glad with regard to our discipline incidents not being as high as other schools, because I have friends who are principals at other high schools and their numbers are much larger than mine. So I'm grateful to be at Denmark-Ola High School. On January 17th, we had the Greenwood Genetics Center mobile lab at Denmark-Ola High School. I included a few photos of kids who were actually inside that mobile lab. They were studying, doing research on, or getting information pertaining to how kids or how companies study genetics. I was surprised at the number of kids who were, their excitement about it. I saw kids wearing their lab contraption all day long. I thought, well, now you know the bus is gone. You can get that off. The kids were wearing that all day long. So I think that really left a good impression on our students as it pertains to genetics and the study of genetics. We had on January 26th a report card pickup, as well as Parent University. And Parent University affords us an opportunity to teach or share with parents information that might help them better connect with and keep up with their students. One of the things that we found at Denmark-Ola is our parents don't use as much as we would like them to use Parent Portal, which is a part of Power School, which is our student data management system. So the goal of the Parent University was to teach parents how to access and navigate Parent Portal, and I think that's going to be very beneficial to parents because they can access student information in real time. And that saves a lot of phone calls and a lot of questions because they can see things for themselves. And that was, the Parent University was taught by Jacori Washington, who's our district social worker, and Ms. Denise Crosby, who's our district truancy officer. They put that together and did a really good job of putting that together. On February 3rd, which was last Friday, we had our second quarter honors assembly. I want to thank Ms. Bamberg and Ms. Echols for attending. We certainly appreciate your support. And I'm always encouraged when I see the number of parents who show up for an honors assembly. It always does my heart good that we have to put out extra chairs for parents because there's so many there. So we really are grateful to our parents for their support and coming and supporting their children. Typically, whenever the Super Bowl is being held, the NFL normally holds some sort of event for the various communities, but most times it's held within the city where the Super Bowl is being held. In recent years, they've started to do virtual events as well. To that end, our students, our high school football team were able to participate in an event that was sponsored by EverFi Incorporated, the United Way, and the NFL. And it was basically a virtual session on understanding mental wellness. I was really impressed more so with the types of questions that kids came out of that experience with, wanting to know more about mental health and what they needed to do to ensure their mental health. What are some of the signs of mental health challenges? That was really encouraging to me. It tells me that they paid attention, and to hear a professional athlete talk about mental health, I think it really stuck with many of our athletes. So I'm hoping that that will continue to kind of permeate throughout the school, because our kids are definitely talking about the impact and the seriousness of mental health and mental health wellness. So I was really pleased that they had the opportunity to participate in that. We have partnered with Voorhees University. They have one of their fraternities, Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity Incorporated. They have a mentoring program entitled Empowering Kings. And basically, it's a one-on-one mentoring program. They're going to look at helping kids make decisions, promote positive masculinity and personal responsibility. It's going to be one-on-one mentoring, as I mentioned earlier, for our males between the ages of 15 to 23. And we anticipate that starting mid-March. So we're really excited for our students to have an opportunity, our young males to have an opportunity to be exposed to this mentoring program. Job shadowing from February 6th through February 17th will be taking place with many of our students. They're going out, getting an opportunity to go on various job sites, see what mom and dad does on a day-to-day basis, or other jobs that they may be interested in. I think Ms. Douglas, Elder Douglas, our career development facilitator, has done an excellent job of creating opportunities for our kids to go out and be exposed to the real world and see what's going on in the workforce. And we had one young lady tell me today she's going to the coroner's office. I said, you go right ahead on. Have a great time. So I'm excited to see them have an opportunity to go out and just be on the job and see what happens in the real world. I think that's probably the most profound experience one can have as you look at what it is you desire to do in your life, when you can actually go on a job and see what they do on a day-to-day basis. And we're certainly excited for them to have that opportunity. We're going to be having a Black History Assembly on Wednesday, February 15th at 10 a.m. We certainly invite any and all of you to come out if you so desire. We're looking forward to having a really good time on that day. And then the early release day is on February 28th, and obviously teachers will be engaged in various professional development activities on that particular day. Certainly will entertain any questions that you may have at this time.
Any questions? Thank you so much, Dr. Simmons.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
Next up, we have Chastity Evans, I understand, is not with us this evening, and that Mr. Butch Crosby has volunteered to do her report in her place. Is that my understanding for Richard Carroll Elementary?
Yes, ma'am.
All right.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
This is our report for Richard Carroll Elementary School. Our current enrollment is 635. We are up 4 students from the January board meeting. Discipline incident reports, we have 48 incidents that has been documented in Power School since the January board meeting. Evaluation updates, Dr. Evans wanted to let you know we had 14 teacher observations since the January board meeting, 130 for the school year. In her defense, we're trying to put a plan together to up our teacher evaluation from being part-time there, her being there by herself, so that's the reason why it was a little low, but we do have a plan in place to up our teacher evaluations. Instructional priorities. On Monday, February 6, 2023, Dr. Evans presented, where are we now academically to our faculty? We reviewed and analyzed, discussed, and formulated a game plan to improve student achievement going forward. In this faculty meeting, we discussed intentionality, laser focus, and similarly purpose. As the faculty, we discussed and looked for patterns in the data, both positive and negative. We brainstormed root causes and then discuss which of those root causes can we control and which of those root causes can we not control. Teachers have been asked to establish, have been tasked with establishing class, grade level, and school-wide goals and incentives, having them to think outside the box. We shared that, Dr. Evans shared that our data really doesn't reflect our teaching staff or our students. We discussed that we have an opportunity to make a difference in the lives of our students. Dr. Evans then showed a video of 212 degrees for our faculty to watch. Also, upcoming events, the biggest event that we have coming up is tomorrow, February 10th. Family Valentine's Dance. which is a fundraiser for the Richard Carey Elementary School. It's put on by our parent PTO. So we're inviting any of you that want to come out and have a good time with our youngsters. We are having a dance tomorrow. So dress up, come out, and get your party on. So we also, tomorrow on Friday, we have pictures. Monday, February 13th, interim reports are being sent home. On Monday, February 20th, that's no school because of President's Day. And also February 21st through 24th, we're doing performance task assessments. And Tuesday, February 28th is the early release day and professional development. We also have a school improvement council meeting that day at 5 p.m., which will be held in the library. And following that, PTO meeting at 6 o'clock in the library. Thursday, March 2nd is spring picture day. That is the end of Dr. Andrews' report.
Any questions? Great. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. All right, next up we have Denise Miller with Bamberg Earhart Middle School.
Well, greetings.
Greetings.
Greetings from the middle school. It's my pleasure and my privilege to be in front of you this evening. You have your report in front of you. Our current enrollment at the middle school is 191. And you see our discipline report in front of you. Quarter 2, semester 1 ended on January 12th. And then we issued report cards for quarter 2 on January 20th. We held an active shooter drill on January 24th. And we have completed our winter ELA and math benchmark testing. We're in the process of analyzing that data. We held our Junior Garnet and Black Award ceremony on February the 2nd. And this week was Counselor Appreciation Week, and I would like to publicly thank our guidance counselor, Mrs. Hope Lynette Smalls, for all she does for our school. Also this week, and until next week, is Congenital Heart Defect Week, and we have a young man at our school that has this issue, and his name is Connor O'Haron. His mom said I could share this information with you. And so on Tuesday, we all wore red in honor of Connor, and just letting him know that we love him and support him in his journey. We will be hosting a Title I Parent Engagement Night and open house this coming Monday on February the 13th. Everyone's invited. And I just have to thank our community and stakeholders for their support. Ms. Bamberg, Ms. Eccles, they attended our Garnet and Black Award ceremony last week. And then also I need to thank Trinity United Methodist Church of Bamberg for providing our staff with a delicious lunch on January 13th. Now my students asked me to give you their report. They have a little treat for you. We have a new hydroponic garden in the building. And they're hands-on learners, and they just wanted you to see what they are working on in their science classrooms. It might not be enough for a whole salad, but it's enough for a hamburger.
It's enough for a side salad. Wonderful. Oh, wow.
And that concludes my report. Can I answer any questions for you?
Yeah, where's the dressing? Thank you so much. Anyone has any questions?
I did have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
I am not aware of whether or not the active shooter drill is required. I don't really know, but I just think it's great it's happening.
Yes, ma'am.
I'm sure other schools have done it too, but.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
Well, thank you so much, Ms. Miller, and please thank the students. Appreciate it so much. All right, next up we have Jordan Smith with Bamberg Earhart High School.
Good evening to all.
You have goodies for us?
I have nothing to say, but I can put on a show, you know that.
All right. Yes, I do.
Briefing by exception is not listed. Our Garnet and Black Awards Day ceremony is next Friday, not tomorrow, at 9 a.m. We will honor our semester 1 honor roll students. For the sake of time, I will not go into great detail, but your enrollment data is listed at the end of this report. Briefing by exception again, it's not 357. I just signed in 2 new students, so we're 359. We're going up. Going up. Behavior, 14 discipline incidents. That's normal for this time of the year. We're still doing well with our discipline. Credit recovery. It ends February 17th. We have 20 students currently participating. I'm not sure the exact percentage, but we are very pleased with that amount of students that are participating who are eligible. And that's significant to BEHS because that's the first time we've ever offered credit recovery after the first semester, not waiting until the summer. So our push towards academics and doing everything possible for the student, that we're excited to see that participation, our students taking advantage of it. The Emerging Scholars Program. Clemson University came and spoke to our freshman class on January 27th. This is important because this is a college access program. I call it the pipeline. Clemson, this program increases access, and it also goes along with our strategic plan of strengthening the relationships between BEHS and all of our universities, especially in South Carolina. So we're glad to have them on campus to get those students excited. The South Carolina Department of Employment and Workforce, our guidance department, is constantly providing opportunities for all students. And they are hosting on February 15th a presentation to our juniors and seniors discussing hot jobs in the area. Grade level meetings. I recently held grade level meetings. And most of the students would tell you they see the happy-go-lucky Mr. Smith. This was a very serious one. One, we discussed attendance policies, just reminding them, along with other handbook things that sometimes students like to get around January time. We talked about I-leads, which I'll talk about next in a little more detail. The main point of this was the harmful substances. I had a real conversation with our students reviewing the handbook about what is expected of them, but it wasn't just about fussing at them as a principal. It was out of love. This stuff is dangerous, and we need to be aware of it, and we need to be careful with it. So if your students came home and told you the principal was talking to us about drugs, kind of, but it was a reason for that. We want everyone to be safe and be aware of what you ingest and be careful. And I really do believe the students took that to heart. I-Leads. We are fortunate to be able to pioneer the I-Leads program at Bamberg High School. This is a student leadership development program that's embedded into our curriculum. And now I'm a nerd, so I read the whole book, and I'm telling you, it's some really, really good stuff that your normal curriculum will not address, such as resiliency. So every Wednesday, at the end of second period, we extend it slightly to give those students an opportunity to break up into groups of 4 to 6 to 8. And it's a student-led organization, so if you have time, I invite you to stop by and take a look at the I-Leads program, and we're excited to see that these concepts trickle into the lives of our young students. Very excited to be able to academically share what's going on, exciting things at Bamberg High School. I want to start off by saying our health science class, taught by Ms. Terry Huber, took the National Health Science Exam, the EOC, for their course. They had a 100% passage rate on that EOC. Oh wait, but that's not all. We had multiple students who made a perfect score on the end of course test.
Great.
So ladies, will you come forward? Thank you for your efforts. Madam Genesis, will you come forward? Ava Genesis, will you come forward? I'm proud of you. Tristan Jenkins, will you please come forward? Rain Turk from all that study. Hart, please come forward. The principal made him come out here. Erica Glover, honor her in her absence. Hey, let's watch this. Addison, Ava, and Tristan, will you please come back up? Multiple subject areas. Addison, thank you. Ava. And last but not least, we have an exciting treat for you tomorrow. Our Black History Month program will be hosted at Bamberg High School tomorrow at 10 a.m. The theme is Forward Together. Our guest speaker will be Dr. Willie Todd, the president and CEO of Denmark Technical College, which goes along with our strategic plan again of strengthening that partnership between the high school and colleges. If you haven't heard Dr. Willie Todd speak, it's a treat. On top of that, we have the Voorhees University Choir. They have an upcoming performance at Carnegie Hall. We're excited to have them at the gym tomorrow. Clean it up nice and pretty for you. So, do we have any questions?
Is the school going to be doing the credit recovery again at the end of the semester for
Yes,
the high
ma'am.
school? And my other question is the ID's development program for, like, is there a qualification for what students participate in that program?
There's not a qualification. We were offering it to everyone, but like, is there a certification that goes along with it?
No, just I guess if the kids had to have like a certain GPA or anything.
This is offered to everyone. It's just enrichment for them.
Okay.
And we'll be tracking their data from an intake survey with also with a post survey.
And this actually in all of our schools, grades 5 up through the high school, so
The character education.
participating in this program.
Okay.
Mrs. Smith, you said it's on Wednesday, what Wednesday? The IB,
Wednesdays, yes ma'am, starting at 10:45 a.m.
that's every Wednesday?
For the next 7 more Wednesdays, yes ma'am.
You said 10:45?
10:45.
Any other questions? Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. All right, next up, we are on item number 5, which is the athletic report. And I understand Mr. Smith will do that on behalf of our athletic director, Mr. Williams.
I am not Mr. Williams. I smile a lot more than he did. But he did ask me to fill in. Denmark Olar basketball, varsity girls, 21-2 overall, 12-0 in the region, and they are region champs. They will be home Wednesday. So we are proud of the Denmark varsity girls. Also, Denmark varsity boys, 21-3 overall, 12-0 in the region. They are region champs as well, and they will travel. No, they're home Thursday. Home Thursday as well. So we wish the Denmark Olar basketball organization much luck.
Before you move on, can we please give them a round of applause?
Keep a few claps together for the Raiders too now.
We're getting there.
Varsity girls, 13-8 overall. They're 9-2 in the region. And they're 3rd overall in the region, and they will be at Latta on Wednesday. Tied for second. Tied for second in the region. Tied for second. Varsity boys, they are 11-11 overall, 6-5 in the region, and they're 4th in the region, and they will be at Lakeview on Thursday.
Round of applause.
Yeah. Varsity wrestling at Bamberg High School finished the season with an 18-10 record. We're in the 3rd round of the playoffs, so we're proud of them. Our spring sports started this week with practices, and their seasons will start the 1st week of March. At Bamberg High School, we have soccer, boys track, girls track, baseball, softball, and golf. And at Denmark Olar, we have soccer, boys track, and girls track. And Coach Williams said he will be bringing those coaches at a later board meeting. Any questions for Coach Williams?
Nope, thank you very much. All right, and let's give Bamberg Gerhardt Wrestling for varsity a round of applause. Certainly appreciate that. These kids are doing their thing. All right. Next up on the agenda is item number 6, which is the draft 2023-2024 calendar, school calendar. And I'll turn that over to Dr. Brown.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
All right, so tonight you have in your board packets, I would like to, as you know, every year at this time, this is when we begin planning for our school calendar for the following school year. And this year I was tasked with the task of looking into, by the board and our school administrators, all of us agreed as a team, we talked about this last year, but given the consolidation that was on our plate last year, we agreed to not move forward with this last year, but to look at it again this year. When you take into the totality of our student achievement, our teacher deficit, the number of teachers that we have on staff, our teacher shortage. We are looking at ways to how to address all of these issues that our district is facing. Other districts in the state and across the country are looking at other options about how, and we are too, how do we address student needs and teacher needs in a different way? And one of those ways is looking at calendar options. So this being our normal time that we look at calendars, and as you know, I thought it was only fair to get the input of all stakeholders in this process. So we began this process in the month of January, planning with all our district administrative team, and then we took it to all of our stakeholders in February through the methods of a survey. And so tonight, I would like to share with the board, and for those in attendance and those who have listened online, kind of walk you through this process and what that looked like, because you guys have not seen this yet, but you did get it in your board packets, but I wanted to explain what you have in your board packets, if that's okay. So it started with, we looked at multiple calendars for districts all across the state, and we looked at our traditional calendar. And as you know, if we do a traditional calendar, we will not start school until after the third Monday in August, which pushes us back late in the year. One issue with our traditional calendar is it does not equalize semesters. And one of the biggest complaints that we get from students, and we see a lag in some of our EOC into the semesters grades, is because the semesters split by winter break. And students go home first semester for winter break, and when they come back the very next week, they're taking final exams and then the course exams. And we have seen a decline in some of those scores, and we're trying to address that. Students say all the time, why can't we take our exams before we go home for winter break? Well, you have to have so many days of instruction before you take those EOCs. And so in order to get that equalizing of the semesters in, you have to look at a different calendar to address those issues. That's just one issue we're trying to address with looking at a different calendar options. But anyway, we got together as the district administrative team and the school level administrative team. We decided on 4 calendars that we thought captured or addressed some of the most of the issues that we were hearing from faculty, staff, and students and school administrators. We put those in a survey and sent them out to all teachers, all staff, whether you're certified or other staff, to include cafeteria workers, bus drivers, because they're still part of our district and they still have to work these days. We also sent it to all parents of students in our district, and we sent it to all administrators. So what you have in your packet is a copy of the surveys, the questions, and what I wanted to pull up tonight is to show you the survey, exactly how it looked when it went out, and this is how it looked. So the first question on the survey was started with an introduction and a purpose and explained what we were doing. It asked for their input, and I'm on that. I'm on the actual survey. I want to go back to that one. Got it. So, first question is, identify your role. I am a student, parent, teacher, other staff member, or administrator/coordinator. We had 1,225 total responses. And as you see in your board packet, 772 of those were students, which I am very proud of. We surveyed all students in grades 5 through 12. And I think it's important that we listen to our students. They're a stakeholder in this process. And it involves them. So I'm very proud of the students that took this survey and participated. And if you'll notice what Ms. Moody has also put on your desk, at the bottom of the survey is a chance for comments and input. And students, along with parents and staff, have some very good comments that you'll have the opportunity to read. So 772 students, we had 272 parents participate, 142 teachers, which we employed about 150, so almost 95% of our staff participated in the survey. Other staff members were 69, and we had every administrator and coordinator participated in the survey. So here's the results. This is the total results of all those participants that participated in the survey. And as you can see, there were 4 calendar options, and I'd like to explain them real quickly before I talk about the results. In your handout, you have option A. Option A is a traditional calendar. If we do nothing, and we don't start earlier to equalize our semesters, that's what option A calendar would look like, okay? Option B is the closest calendar to a traditional. It has about a week and a half earlier start date, but that would equalize the first semester and have us finishing first semester prior to winter break, so students at the secondary level, 8th grade and above, who have EOCs and final exams in those courses would get those out of the way before winter break. It would also have us finishing school by the 3rd week in May. The other benefit to that calendar is that we get to start our summer school programs earlier, and we can stretch them out longer if we choose to do so. So a couple of benefits with that option. Option C is what was we nicknamed in our administrative planning group as the 9-1 option. And you probably heard of a lot of districts that would went to this option. They go to school for 45 days, they end in 9 weeks, and then they give a break. It's called an intercession period. But during that intercession period, they offer for students who are identified at risk by district assessments and school assessments to come in and get small group instruction with their teacher for 2, 3, 4 days out that week. And the other students who are performing well don't need that or don't want to come, they don't have to come. It also gives teachers a chance that if you don't want to teach during that intercession period, you don't have to, it gives you a break. Now, the benefit of that is not only are we looking at helping students in academic achievement, we're also looking to address teacher burnout. We are listening to our teachers. Just as students, you heard some of the principals tonight comment about discipline, and about this time of year, we start seeing incidents of increasing discipline behaviors. Well, students will get tired, it's getting late in the years, we call it springitis. Teachers do too. And at the end of every 9 weeks, especially we've got a couple of quarters where we go a long stretch without a single day off. And teachers we're all human. We need days off to take ourselves to the doctor, to take our children to the doctor, and just days to mentally and physically rest. Because this job is very demanding. So calendars that include those intercession weeks address both your teacher needs and your student needs. And you'll see in some of your comments there, I'm most proud of some of the students wrote in their comments, I'll be able to come and get extra help. And that just spoke to my heart. So pay attention to those comments when you read them. Also, the last calendar, option D, is what we nicknamed the 9-2 option. Same premise in mind, but you go for 45 days and then you get 2 weeks out, 10 days out. But during those 10 days, one solid week is devoted to academic focus, where students that are at risk or in need or do need to do academic recovery, attendance recovery, would utilize that week to come and do that. And I've spoken to a lot of districts that are using this calendar model, and the premise behind is still to help teachers and students get a break. So you do a week of intercession, and then that second week is everybody is off for the next week to get that mental and physical break that's much needed. So I've explained the calendar options, so this is the options that were proposed to all the stakeholders, and here's how the results fell. And as you can see, the majority of the vote, with 31.7%, went to option B, the earlier start date. And as you can see, the least favorite calendar of all was the traditional calendar, with only 16% of the vote. Coming in third at 28.7% was option D, which I was surprised. And then the third favorite was option C, the 9-1. Then, second question, as you can see.
I can interrupt you. Before you move on, does option B address teacher burnout?
Yes, it does.
Okay.
And what's in option B? It's earlier start date, but if you'll notice on the calendar, there were built-in professional development days. There's some early release days. And then some days denoted for early, that school is out,
Okay.
okay? But it does not allow for so many days off as your 9-1 or your 9-2 option.
Okay.
Now, I'm glad you asked that question, Ms. Walker, because I also just laid something else on your desk, and it was a memo that all districts got last week from the State Department of Education. And just like all districts right now, this tasked with coming up with a calendar for the next school year. It's that time of the year. The State Department sent this out. It's dated January 31st, and it's reminding all districts of the statutory and regulatory requirements for school calendar. In this, if you look at statute 59-1-425,
Page 2.
page 2, regarding half days. In option B, we had included, I think, a day a month for early release, but the State Department has just kindly reminded all 80-something districts in state of South Carolina that under this statute, you can have no more than 3 early release days a year. Now, one thing that I want to say too, that when you guys get to read the comments that we printed off in a spreadsheet for you, is that parents too had concerns. There were lots of comments about concerns while they liked option B. They had concerns about all the early release dates that were on that calendar due to childcare problems. And so as we move into this process, I'd like the board to be aware of not only the state statute that we just got a kindly reminder about, but also the parents, and you'll get to read the comments, the parents' input about the childcare concerns for so many early release dates.
Okay.
All right, so going back to the results, and then at the end, you were just simply asked to vote. My preference is option A, B, C, or D, and then you had an open-ended question at the end where you could put in a comment. So going back to, you also have a report. We condensed this down into a nice little report for you guys. It's stapled, and what you see is calendar survey results summary. And we just wrote this down into a nice little colored bar graph for you. Students literally chose option B, with option D coming in a very close second. Parents. I'm gonna get lights in my TV. Parents clearly chose option B.
I have a question.
Mhm.
So on the first one that you're talking, yeah, if you can go back down, of the students.
Mhm.
So when you're talking about, let's say hypothetically, option B and option D,
Mhm.
you said came in as a close second. And then, of course, there's option A and then option C. Is this a breakdown of all of the students that took the survey?
actually
And
does,
then it,
yes,
okay,
ma'am.
gotcha.
And in this report, which we'll get to in a second, not only did we give you a bar graph, we actually gave you a number. So
Okay,
out of those 700 and something students, we broke it down numerically, how many of those voted for A, how many
Okay.
B, and how many C, and how
Okay.
many D.
okay.
All right, and then for parents, same thing. It's just quicker, easier to see when you see it in bar graph format. Option B clearly was the winner. Teachers, option D, that's that 9-2 option. Their voice is coming out loud and clear in that, about needing a break. And then administrator coordinators, tied, neck and neck, option B or option D. Other staff members, option D. So overall, what I took away from this, and statistically and analytically, B and D was running neck and neck amongst all stakeholders. Except for parents.
Except for
Clearly
parents.
voted for option B. And then your survey comments, here's every single comment. And I would like to say to the board and to all the public here tonight and those listening, I've read every single one of these comments. One parent even directed me to an article on modified school calendars. I downloaded, printed, and shared the article with the other administrators, read it, took it to heart. There's pros and cons to any school calendar, whether you do modified or traditional. But I did read the article, it's a very interesting article, I'll be glad to share that with you. I would like to thank here publicly every parent that took the time to write us comments. And you can tell they put a lot of thought and had lots of great concerns. And this is why I printed off all of these comments and provided them to the board tonight so that you can have a chance to read these comments. And as we move forward, and you guys will be the one voting on calendar, making that final decision, you can take into account the input for all the stakeholders. And again, I would like to also thank all of our students who took this survey, particularly our high school students and our upper middle grades, because they too, and you can clearly read some of the students signed their name to their comments. They were serious about what they had to say, and they put a lot of thought into what they had to say. Now, I've gotten a lot of, why are we doing this? Well, the simple reason is what I said before. We're trying to improve our schools and improve our students' academic outcomes. And with our test scores and our academic achievement data looking like it does, you know, if we keep doing the same thing and expecting a different result, that's not working for us right now. You'll soon be getting our school designations and our school report cards. And while we've made some movement in our school, our movements is not as much as we'd like them to be right now. So we're trying to come up with innovative ways that how can we address the multitude of issues that's facing our school district right now to include academic achievement among students, post-secondary outcomes amongst students, secondary outcomes amongst our students, but also outcomes for our teachers and our other staff. And then someone mentioned here tonight, you know, there's that all empowering component of social emotional. That's a real thing. And we're in a day and time now that where we have to take that into consideration. And we have to think about student attendance, teacher attendance, truancy, and behavioral issues. And how can we better address those as well as our academic outcomes. Also, we have new applicants, and they have even called and asked Mr. Ulmer, myself, or Ms. Moody, what's your calendar look like? Are y'all going with a modified calendar? So the district is competing with other districts who are offering different calendar options to new hirees. So lots of things later in the year as to the why. So I wanted the chance tonight to present it to the board. You've got all this information in your packet. We have begun the process, as I was tasked with this endeavor, to look at changing our calendar primarily to equalize our semesters and to try to address our student achievement, but also for all those other reasons involved. We'd like to thank all of the comments, emails, phone calls I've gotten from our community members and our parents, and all of the students that actually literally came by my office or texted me or emailed me, and some even rode their golf carts to my house and gave me input on this calendar because they felt that passionately. And I say to all the audience tonight, we truly do have the best interests of our students and our staff at heart as we're trying to move into this endeavor. But we are here to work together, and we've got to come up with something that all of us can live with. And if we don't do it now, we're gonna try again next year. When will we do it? Or will we keep doing the same thing? So, I would ask the board tonight to refrain from doing a first reading tonight, to take all this information home with you. Take the time to read all the comments and the input that the parents took the time, the students took the time, the staff took the time to give to us. And maybe consider a call board meeting for a first reading whenever the board is ready for that. And let's try to do a second reading in March, because we do need to get a calendar in place. And as you'll see from all the input from the parents, not only does the schools need to start planning and getting our master schedule in place, that parents need to start planning and children need to start planning for whatever option that we choose. So I'm asking again, refrain from first reading. And also I'd like the chance to publish the results of the survey tomorrow on our district website, so that all of our stakeholders can see what was the result of our survey, that they can see for themselves. Now, what I will not do is publish the comments, because like I said, some people did sign their names to the comments, and I want to protect that anonymity as we said we would. So please understand, the comments will not be published, but the results of all the voting and the breakdown by stakeholder, we will make public tomorrow on the district's website, MissBambergSchools.org.
Okay.
Any questions?
I have a question in response to the memo that came from this State Department of Education, and the reminder that there are only 3 days allotted.
Yes.
Can we talk about how that's going to be addressed and what information will be given to perhaps parents and whoever else did just explain how you're going to address that.
Thank you, because I do need to get with Mr. Ulmer and all of the principals. We need to look at options B, C, and D. And we need to go back and make sure that we're not in violation of this statute. And also given the input from the parents about the burden of childcare, we're going to go back and look at reducing those early release days to no more than 3.
Okay.
And so we would like the opportunity to change the calendars to reflect only 3 early release days total for the school year, and then publicly publish the revised calendars and put them up again tomorrow about this is what it would look like. And then I will get those to the board members. And then that way when we have a called meeting for a first reading, you will have the revised calendars with remaining in the statute guidelines.
Okay.
We can, and I do want to say this, you can have more than 3 days, but state law requires 180 days of instruction for students and 190 work days for teachers. And I would like to say to the public, some students came down to my office, and even some staff called me, and a couple of members stopped me in the grocery store in the community. Why are y'all making the school year shorter? Had one say, why are you making the school year longer? Please no, we're not. It's the same number of instructional days required by the state. It's 180 days of instruction for students, 190 days for certified teachers, and classified staffs, either 180 or 185. And of course, for administrators, we're still at 220 or 240. So you're just starting earlier, starting the same time. We can even start later. I don't think nobody, and especially reading all those comments, nobody wants to go to school the whole month of June. So, anyway, yes, Ms. Walker, we do need to do some tap in there and fix those early release dates.
Okay.
And then I'll get those calendars out to you through Jessica. She'll email y'all all the revised calendars. And we'll get printed copies delivered to you too. And then when we come back from first reading, those will be the ones that we use, but I would like the opportunity to republish those revised ones back out to the public.
Okay, how long do you think that will take?
We can have them up, we can do a quick meeting in the morning and have them up by lunchtime tomorrow.
Okay, so, board members, can you take a look at your calendars and let's schedule a special call meeting now. Looking at our March calendar for our regular scheduled meeting, which is slated for March 6th, am I correct on that, Jessica? So March 6th. We would need to have a special call meeting sometime between the 20th and 28th of February. What are you all thinking about? What day would you all like to do it? I mean, does the 20th work, or does a Monday work for you? For a special call meeting?
Please tell us what days.
Monday the 20th?
Monday.
Or is that President's Day? Are we, I mean, we're never off. I mean, the board's never off. We don't get that off. Okay, so let's look at, how about the 23rd of February? That's on a Thursday. Your calendars? Ms. Bamberg, 23rd. You sure?
What time?
It would be 6. Regular time?
6.
6. 23rd on Thursday.
Okay. That's 6 o'clock?
Ms. Hurst, you good with that day?
I don't know, but I think we'll get.
You sure? You don't have your calendar with you? Let's do a tentative date of February 23rd, which is a Thursday at 6 o'clock p.m. And that's tentative. I'll confirm that tomorrow. Can you take a look at your calendar sometime, if not this evening, in the morning? And if that's okay, just give me a call and say it's okay, and then I'll reach out to you. Or you can actually, can you just call Jessica directly? You have her number? And if it's a go, it's a go.
Can I, while you were saying it, just a couple more things. I was thinking about the comments. There were several staff members in here that wrote questions and concerns that I'd like to address right now, Ms. Walker, if that's okay. Most of the comments I got back from staff was, what if we already have vacations planned for that last week in July? I'm in that boat. I did want to say to everyone here tonight and those that may be listening online, we're not asking anybody to change their vacation plans. If you have scheduled your vacation or your child has something planned that week, the district, this is going to be, if we go with a change calendar this year, this is going to be a transition year for all of us. We will work with you. We will get your classes covered if you work here, and students will not be penalized for anything they may have already had planned. So just know that the district's willing to work with you. We understand that. So please don't, we can address those concerns easily internally. I think that one of them are more common.
That was a big thing.
Also,
Release dates was an issue.
yeah, the early release was the main one. And then the staff already having vacations planned and having to not be here if we did come back a few days early. I'm trying to think of anything else. Mr. Smith, Dr. Simmons, do not think of anything else that was the primary? I think we did on the majority.
Madam Chairman, I have one or two questions, may I please ask?
Absolutely.
Okay. I believe I read something that said that the state pays teachers for like 180 something days, right? And I'm wondering if we do have the interim from the mediation, wouldn't we have to find extra money to pay those teachers?
It would be the same as we pay after-school teachers now in summer school.
That we can afford?
Yes.
Thank you for,
Mhm.
I think that's very important that we address.
Absolutely.
Okay, the other thing, I have a little concern on option B, there are no intersection days. Is that,
That's correct. We would continue with after-school programs,
Yes.
and we would have to continue with the summer school program. But the benefit being, it could be a longer summer school program because you get to start earlier.
And you're not restricted on how many days of summer school? Okay, that's, thank you. And
What restricts us is the availability of staff and the willingness of staff that want to teach it.
right.
But I also don't suggest that teachers teach summer school for the whole month of June, or that we have summer school for June and July. Because like we said earlier, everybody needs a break.
Right, sure. I guess my last question is about the break, and I'm making my opinion rather unfairly because I don't have the little children at home anymore, but although I love the fact that the children had off and the faculty and everybody had off for the whole month, or the whole week of Thanksgiving, for example. I was wondering if possibly, maybe instead of starting quite so early, you can maybe take 1 or 2 days out and say the Thanksgiving break and push everything back a day or two. And I know that means rearranging all the blocks, but
Let me tell you why we did a week of Thanksgiving when we met with our admin team. This is the first year, I think, Denmark-Oler historically had done a week of Thanksgiving. Bamberg did not. We had 3 days off, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday.
and we were still for Wednesday.
And yes, because it used to be Thursday and Friday, then we got Wednesday. But we just decided to align when we consolidated this past year, so everybody got the week. And I kid you not, we've got tons of feedback from parents, students, and staff about being appreciative for that week off at Thanksgiving. And a lot of the feedback was it was much needed, it was much appreciated, and that was a nice little break. It wasn't too long, but you didn't have to cram all your traveling and your family time activities in to squeeze it into 3 or 5 days. You actually had 7. So we decided as an admin team that that was important enough to leave in these calendar options based on the feedback we got just from this last fall alone.
Thank you for telling us
Sure.
It looks like in all of those calendars that you have provided, that week is input there. I know that ultimately the board makes a decision on what the calendar is going to look like, regardless of what you all do. The board makes the decision on what we want the calendar to look like. But I certainly understand and appreciate the amount of work that you all put into this, and that it certainly needs to be considered. And I also note that an entire week was put in for Thanksgiving, and you put that in all of the calendars.
Yes, ma'am.
I think it's a great idea. Myself, I agree that it does tend to be hard to have vacations and you're kind of limited to 2 or 3 days. So I think that was probably a smart move on those of you that put your heads together to provide us with these samples.
You know what else it was that I wanted to bring out? If you will note in several of the comments from families, a lot of them noted that they do farming.
Okay.
My family farms,
Okay.
Stromer Farms, Ms. Blossom Farms. One thing that we've all traditionally coveted is that 5 to 6 week summer, or 6 to 7 week summer break. We took that in consideration with these 4 calendar options. In every one of those calendar options, we have protected that 6 to 7 week summer window between June, July, and August.
Okay.
So I just wanted
That's
to
good.
comment on that.
Okay. All right, board members, so you have heard what Dr. Brown has said. We've been provided with additional information, which is the calendar survey comments. I am asking, that each of us make sure that, we take these home and that we read each and every one of the comments that's been made. I would imagine that I I'm just pleased to see so many people, from students across the board to parents and, educators and janitors, every employee, that they provided input into something that is very important. So I think that we need to take these comments very seriously, take them in. We have enough time before the next special call meeting to take all of this information in and give it some great consideration. And, we'll come back when we decide on a definite date for that special call meeting, and we'll kind of, go from there.
Yes, ma'am.
And also, when you send out, I assume you're going to, you'll have another calendar, well, you'll have adjusted all the calendars. How is that information going to be conveyed to the stakeholders?
We're going to post it on all school districts, our district website, but also all schools' individual web pages,
Okay.
social media pages, and we'll label them revised calendars options.
Okay.
And what'll happen is they'll see those early release dates either reduced to 3 or less.
Okay. Okay. All right. So she's also requested, when I say she, I'm talking about Dr. Brown, has requested that no action be taken, considering that we have some adjustments that need to be made on the proposed calendars that's been provided, as well as the fact that the board needs to take a look at all of the comments that's been provided. We appreciate the work that's been put into this, not just from the district, but also from the parents and the students, along with the staff. So we won't take any action at this particular time. We will just take all this information in, and we'll, come back and reconvene and talk about it tomorrow.
Yes, ma'am.
All right. So we are now down to item number 7, which is student staff recognition and superintendent's report. And I will turn that over to you again, Dr. Brown.
So you have in your board packet, I know all the principals give you their school enrollment trends, but I'd like to give you also a district snapshot of our enrollment trends. I compare it to 1 year ago today, so we pulled enrollment for the district on February the 6th. In 2022, it was 1781, and February 6th of 2023, 1791. So we were up a little bit. So we're holding steady. But as you can see, from month to month to month, it fluctuates a bit. But we're holding steady. So that's good news. Also in your board handout, you have, we're required by state law to report on students that are living in our county that attend homeschool. And so you have in the survey results that's provided by the State Department of Education. There are 44 children living in our county instead of attending our schools or enrolled in some type of homeschool in grades K through 12. And I would like to say that we talked a little bit, someone mentioned tonight about Ms. Miller, I believe, having the bomb threat and evacuation practices at our school. Ms. Harsh, you had asked about all schools, and we've talked about that before. That is a requirement, and yes, all schools do that. We actually do active shooter drills with our students. We practice with them so that they know the procedures, our staff knows the procedures. We have plans in place for what to do when. One thing that's come up this year, and you're hearing about it on the news almost every day, is bomb threats. So not only are we doing active shooter, or what we call soft lockdown or school threats, now we're doing actual bomb threat practices. I've tasked all principals and to do active bomb threat drills with all of their faculty and staff. They should have already happened this week. Some are planned for next week. That to make sure that everybody knows the procedures about what we do when we do have a bomb threat, and it's not an active shooter. So just wanted to inform the board, if you hear that we're doing, that schools had a bomb threat, please call me, because it could be just a drill. Let's pray to God we don't have one, but as you see on the news, schools are getting them almost daily, and it's causing some disruptions to schools. And it's sad that we're in these times, but we are, and we must deal with it. We must make sure that all staff and students know what to do when we have those situations. And there are stringent procedures that we have to follow when we have those situations. And that's it, pretty much, from our superintendent's report. Part of the calendar presentation is part of the superintendent's report.
I would just like to piggyback on that for the board members. This is particularly for you. No matter how little or who it is, if you ever receive a call or hear about, don't even have to have a call, just hear about a potential or a bomb threat, please, please, please reach out to myself and or Dr. Brown. I've had a board member that received some information. She provided it to me. I reached out to Dr. Brown, and it was immediately investigated. So please take any type of threat like that very seriously. If you hear about it, overhear about it, or receive a call, take it very seriously. And it doesn't matter who it is. Take it seriously. Thank you.
Excellent.
Now the number 8, request for out-of-state and overnight trips. Dr. Brown?
Yes, ma'am. And tonight we have 3. First, in your handout, we have an overnight trip request. It's for a good reason. It's our VE wrestling team. We have a young lady who's going to stay. Very proud of her. She has to go to Anderson. It's for individual championships. It's February 24th through February 25th. And coaches are listed. The student's name is listed there. Actually, we do know who the student is now. We found out this week. I'll get Jessica to get that information out to y'all.
If you want to just, can we just have that information? I mean, can we write it?
Yeah, Mr. Smith, you got her full name?
Well, never mind, I don't want to put you on the spot, that's okay.
You can say it.
You don't have to, if you don't want to. I mean,
Might be a trick, I'm not gonna say it.
We do protect confidentiality.
Right. You're not getting me today.
that was really good. Jessica,
Yes.
really good, Jessica, can you just get that information to us? Thank you so much.
Because I believe we're gonna have to email y'all some more before it's all over with anyway, because we're still
Alright.
waiting on the individuals for the boys. But we do
Right.
know the girls' tournament, or the championship has been named. It's February 24th, 25th, and we do need to request, because it does require overnight. She actually wrestles on Friday and Saturday, and hopefully by 3 p.m. on Saturday, she will be wrestling for a state title, so.
Yeah. Great. Okay.
All right, the second one is, it's our culinary arts teams going to the Fresh Start Management Competition in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina, March 5th through the 7th. You got the estimated cost there. This is paid for out of our Perkins and Kate, which is our career and technology funding that pays for events like this. And Ms. Kathy Hunt, Major McDonald, it's part of our ROTC program too. They partner up. It's a great opportunity for our students. They actually go and do and compete. And last year we came home with some major awards, so excited about that. You have a list of the students that are going and the chaperones, the costs, and the agenda and the purpose all in your handouts. And lastly, just like last year, Ms. Huber's HOSA, is that HOSA? HOSA Future Health Professionals, attending in Charleston, South Carolina, the State Leadership Competition. It's March the 15th through March the 17th. 2 days, you have a list of the students. Ms. Huber has put together a nice little package for you to include the email, to include the students and the chaperones, and what this event entails. Where they'll be, agenda, and the works. Oh, and one more, sorry, it's 4.
We won't let you forget.
Please keep rolling. Lastly, it's girls softball. Bamberg softball team traveling to Myrtle Beach for the Grandstand Softball Classic that they attend annually. This year it's Saturday, April the 8th, till Sunday, April the 9th. April 19th, I think. No, it's April 9th, I'm sorry. And they stay for a week. I'm sorry, they're leaving Saturday, April 8th, and Sunday, April 9th. I guess some are leaving the 8th and some are leaving the 9th. But they're returning Friday, April the 14th. And the cost is there. All of the funds have been raised completely by these young ladies. List of the students will be provided to the board once we get back all the permission forms from the parents. but we did want to go ahead and ask because we do have to reserve a spot in that tournament.
Okay, on the one for HOSA, item number 10, how will the activity be financed? Check all that apply, if nothing checked. I'm just curious about that.
Yes, ma'am. If you look at the second page, I had an email that explains that's paid for out of our CAPE funds of monies too, the career and technology. And because this is nursing career, students that are seeking nursing as their choice of career and participating in these classes leading to eventually a nursing degree, it's paid for out of CAPE.
Yeah, I saw that. I guess because the form is not checked, I just want to make sure we don't have any problems with that. Okay. All right, board members, you have had the opportunity to receive and review all these requests. You've heard Dr. Brown. What is the pleasure of the board with regards to the out-of-state and overnight trips for A, B, C, and D?
Madam Chair,
Yes.
at this time, I make a motion that we grant the request for out-of-state and overnight trips for A, B, C, and D.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second on the floor that we grant the request for A, which is BE Wrestling, and B, Pro Start Management Culinary Teams, C, HOSA, Teacher Health Professionals, and D, Lady Raiders Softball Team. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, if you're in favor of this, please signal by saying aye. Aye. Ms. Hurst, you, sir?
I guess we don't.
Um, Any opposition? Hearing none, the ayes have it and the motion carries. All right, we are down to item number 9 on the agenda, which is the first reading of Bamberg County School District Policy Section G, which deals with personnel. And I'll turn it over to you, Dr. Brown.
So as you may have been keeping up with our legislators in session, they're on a roll. So the first thing that passed the House and Senate is a statute that now requires districts and schools to allow all teachers, certified teachers, full-time employees teaching in grades K through 5, 30 minutes of unencumbered time. With the passage of that legislation, file is policy. Policy GCLE is been sent to us by SCASBA in accordance with the legislation that has been passed. I've had our school attorneys look over these to make sure that it is compliant with the recent legislation that was passed just a couple of weeks ago. And they are saying that it is compliant with that legislation. So policy GCLE, I bring forth to the board tonight. We have to have a policy back to the State Department. All districts are required to have a policy in place within 3 months of the passage of this legislation. So I'm asking for a first reading tonight. For those listening, I would just like to read the first paragraph to explain GCLE, if that's okay. In accordance with state law, the district will require a principal of each elementary school to provide at least 30 minutes of unencumbered time to all full-time instructional staff teaching in grades K through 5, and to instructional staff of any elementary, middle, or high school responsible for teaching a special education class for which more than 20% of the school day they have students who are removed from the general education setting. So this not only applies to K through 5 certified teacher, but it applies to K through 12 special education teachers. So that's the purpose of it. I'm asking the board for first reading of this policy tonight.
Okay. Yes.
Excuse me, in line, did they leave out the word teacher after middle or high school teacher?
It says to instructional staff
Okay.
of
Or
any,
class.
it says instructional staff.
All right.
So it's to any teacher or instructional staff of any elementary, middle, or high school.
Who is responsible?
Correct.
Maybe that's what I have to do with.
Well, this is not our policy, this is state mandated, so
That's correct.
we're not changing anything.
And the legal code says adopted, the legal references are at the end of the policy. South Carolina Code of Laws, section 59.563 and 59.25.160.
Yeah.
And on the second page, it does say that the district should enter, we don't need to enter anything, do we, on the second page?
No, we do
No, no,
have
no.
some options there. However, I'm suggesting that we do not include any options right now. This will be our first year going into this. And I'm suggesting to the board that we pass it as it's drafted without any options. And then next year, as I get feedback from principals and staff, if we need to insert any additional options or restrictions, then we do so at that time.
Sounds good. All right, so we're looking at a first reading of policy GCLE and GCLE-R, or do you want to talk about that one as well?
Okay, with the policy comes a rule, and with the rule, it basically is the procedures for unencumbered time. And again, it goes right back to what I read out before. The procedures involve that the principal of each school will establish an unencumbered time schedule to provide 30 minutes of duty-free time each regular school day for all qualified teachers, with the goal of providing an average of at least 150 minutes of unencumbered time per week. Principal will review the schedule as needed, ensure compliance with guidelines, and maintain equity and fairness. And then it goes on to explain eligibility. You must be a full-time teacher, teaching in kindergarten through 5th grade, and working a minimum of 30 hours a week. In other words, no subs, no long-term subs. You must be employed full-time to be entitled to this 30 minutes of unencumbered time per school day. Also, a teacher responsible for instructing a special education class for more than 20% of the school day for students who are removed from the general education setting is eligible to receive the 30 minutes of unencumbered time per regular school day. So the rule goes on to further specify who's eligible and who's not eligible. I will be asking all principals to provide to me within the next 10 days their plans for all of their staff that meets these eligibility criteria and their 30 minutes of unencumbered time once the board has approved the policy. You can go ahead and start drafting your plans now, and then it will go, once the policy is passed, we will put those plans into effect immediately.
All right. All right, you have read the policies prior to coming to the meeting. You have had an explanation as to what's needed with regards to the policies. What's the pleasure of the board with regards to the first reading of these two policies in section G?
Madam Chair,
Yes.
at this time, I make a motion that we do the first reading of policy GCLE unencumbered time, GCL-R unencumbered time.
All right, motion on the floor. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion on the floor and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, if you're in favor of this, please signal by saying aye. Aye. Hearing no opposition, the ayes have it and the motion carries. All right, next we are down to item number 10, which is the monthly financial report, and I'll turn that over to Devon first. Hi, Devon. Great, how are you?
You have your financial report with all of your, detail with the budget, the check registry. If y'all have any questions, I'll be happy to answer them. We're also looking to get started thinking about the process of a budget work session coming up in the next few months. I'm gonna give y'all deep heads up that we're gonna have to plan that as soon as, once you get, say, maybe March, we'll need to start planning, maybe in April.
That sounds good. We'll definitely do that, and we'll leave that up to you to start talking to us about actually having the meetings beginning in April, because I know we've got a lot to go through.
We do, a lot to do.
Okay. So Jessica, just as a reminder, let's start a little early in April. Okay?
If you don't have any questions about anything,
Yes, ma'am.
What is the embroidery account?
so Kathy Hunt at the high school, she is a cake teacher. And so they, the cake money, bought an embroidery machine. And so they actually have a little business where they embroider for different clubs at the school, or they'll embroider for the athletics, and then you pay them. So it's actually teaching the kids, they have a job, basically, and they embroider and sell whatever they make.
Okay, what's the pleasure of the board with regards to accepting the monthly report?
Madam Chair,
Yes?
at this time, I make a motion that we accept the finance report coming from Ms. Burke.
Second.
We have a motion on the floor and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, if you're in favor, please signal by saying aye. Aye. Hearing no opposition, the ayes have it, and the motion carries. We are now down to item number 11 on the agenda, which is visitors' comments. And we do have two individuals that have signed for comments, first being April Miles. So I will please step up to the podium.
Good evening.
Good evening.
I won't take too much of your time because I know y'all are tired just like me. Thank y'all for all the support that's in this room tonight. I really do feel that from y'all as a teacher and just being a part of this community. I just wanted to make sure that y'all are aware of that. Thank you so much. I'm speaking to you tonight from multiple perspectives. Scientist turned high school teacher to a parent that is, I have a middle school student as well as an elementary school student. And I'm actually in opposition to the modified calendar options C and D. On behalf of all who are here, and as well as all those who provided input in their surveys, I do have faith that we're voting on the calendar option that will best serve the goal for educating our children and have some support from our community as well. Upon first hearing some of these options that were presented, as was echoed by Dr. Brown tonight, what's the purpose of all this change? It was explained to us that that modified schedule would probably address learning loss, staff shortages, offer more opportunities for remediation, and we can all agree that we've pretty much been pummeled with changes since 2020, from COVID all the way to consolidation. My faith and support from my family have really kept me going through all of this change. I do ask that we take a moment to maybe breathe before we take on this change that's coming up. The scientist in me is asking, where's the data or evidence in changing the calendar to improve student learning outcomes? I've had a hard time trying to find data, and I haven't been presented with anything yet in terms of data. What I'm hearing instead is other districts that are doing this and trying to adopt something different. And I'm afraid that we shouldn't be jumping on a bandwagon, so to speak. Speaking of data, though, our current calendar sets our high school students up for disastrous exam scores, and I'm a witness to that. It reflects upon my ability to prepare them for their exams as well. If Bamberg School District does adopt option B, this would allow for testing in a timely manner so that our exams in semester 1 could end before winter break. I'm a very firm believer in that. The teacher in me also, I look for ways to supplement my income. And I'm well aware of all the financial burdens that many in our community are facing right now. Option C or D, technically to me, would be financially detrimental because of the fact that more people are going to have to secure childcare with these different breaks that are incorporated that maybe they haven't had to do before. Also, we're going to be cutting out on some farming. We do live in a rural, impoverished area. The traditional school calendar helps accommodate the need for people to work during the summer for a longer period of time. I have students who want to work. We should be encouraged in that. I know many of us will lose some learning and employment opportunities during that time if we do shorten that summer term. I also challenge us to think about this as not just changing when we take vacations. Because I've heard that. A lot of people are in favor of it just because they want to take vacations at different times in the year. We should be encouraging professional attributes to our students, and I feel like if they're given more weeks off, that might actually be encouraging laziness, which I struggle with already with my students. One of the factors that initially seems to be beneficial for a modified calendar is that we offer more immediate remediation that could be offered. But there are problems with that. Staffing, as well as students aren't actually required to attend. And that would be an issue on my end because some students are probably not going to come even if they're asked to come. If any change should be made tonight, I just ask that you either consider option B to help with our exams and summer school opportunities that we presented, and if nothing at all, option A. Maybe we do need to take a breath and hopefully gather some helpful data from other districts in our area to come up with the best solution in the future. And that's all that I have. If y'all have any questions, just let me know.
Thank you very much.
All right, thank you.
Next up, Jenny Bunch.
Hi, good evening.
Good evening.
Thank you for giving me this opportunity. My comments will be very short tonight. First, I want to thank you very much for providing the level of detail that you did tonight, providing the survey results. I'm looking forward to seeing those, and I really appreciate that. I am a parent of 4 students at Richard Carroll Elementary School, so I am coming here tonight as a parent of young children. I did appreciate the opportunity to fill out the survey. It would have been helpful to me if we had been given more information about the reasons for the calendars before making our decision on which was best. I like to know the pros and cons, basically, before I had filled out a survey such as this. But it was nice to hear tonight what those pros and cons were, so thank you. And then my final question is, will the special call meeting be live streamed at the end of this month? Yes.
We normally don't answer questions when it comes to visitors' comments, but that's an easy one.
Okay.
So yes,
Great.
as you've heard, it will be live streamed.
Okay. That's all I have. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay, next we are down to item number 12, which is executive session. On the agenda, what's the pleasure of the board with regards to going into executive session?
Madam Chair, make a motion that we now go into executive session to discuss employment personnel, discussion and release of students, contractual matters, and discussion of superintendent evaluation and all items if needed.
Okay. We have a motion on the floor and a second. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, if you're in favor of moving into executive session, please signal by saying aye. Aye. Hearing no opposition, the ayes have it. The motion carries. We will now move into executive session to discuss A, employment personnel, personnel recommendations for hire, personnel recommendations for resignation. B, discussion of release of students. C, contractual matters regarding incidental to potential sale of property. And D, discussion of superintendent evaluation. We are now moving into executive session. Thank you all for coming. You are welcome. Board members, I will entertain a motion to come out of executive session.
Madam Chairman,
Yes.
I would like to make a motion that at this time we come out of executive session.
Okay.
Second.
We have a motion on the floor, and a second that we come out of executive session. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, if you're in favor of coming out of executive session back into open session, please signal by saying aye.
Aye.
Hearing no opposition, the ayes have it. We are now back in open session. We are down to item number 13 on the agenda, which is action on executive session items if needed. What is the pleasure of the board with regards to executive session items?
Madam Chair,
Yes.
I make a motion that we, take action on items that are necessary to be taken on.
Okay.
Item A, 1, personnel, no action. Item 2, personnel recommendations for resignation. A, CB, B, KC, and CLM. Down to B, B1,
Just mention the numbers. Yeah, the B1.
B1 through B5.
Okay. And,
Item C,
mhm.
no action, and item D, no action.
Okay. We have a motion on the floor. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, we have a motion on the floor and a second. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, if you're in favor of this, please signal by saying aye. Aye. Hearing no opposition, the ayes have it, and the motion is carried. We are now down to item number 14, which is to adjourn the meeting. What's the pleasure of the board on adjourning the meeting?
Madam Chair, at this time, I make a motion that we adjourn this meeting.
All right, motion on the floor and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, if you're in favor of adjourning this meeting, please signal by saying aye. Aye. Hearing no opposition, the ayes have it, and the motion carries. The meeting is adjourned.